This podcast is sponsored by YSC Real Estate Group, offering a tailor-made service, versatility and expertise for all your real estate needs. Are you thinking about selling, buying, investing or having your properties managed? For more information, check our website, www.yscrealestategroup.com. We are passionate about real estate and we love to support local businesses. We hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Cheers.
All right, guys, welcome to episode number
34.
I think your voice is getting deeper as we go on, Dave. But
Deeper.
Nice.
but today we got Ross Alger. Is that right?
That's perfect.
Ross Alger.
Yeah.
And he's one of the founders of Confluence Distilling.
That's correct.
Is that right?
Yeah, Confluence Distilling.
Local distillery.
Local distillery. You know, I really don't even know what that means yet, so we'll explain that part. You've been up and running for about 2 years now, 2.5 years.
Yep.
And basically, you guys, to my understanding, is you guys make your own spirits and vodka, gin. I don't know what you guys make.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're the kind of Calgary's craft gin distillery, so we kind of focus ourselves on gin a little bit, but we do make a little bit of everything. So we got vodka, gin, whiskey in barrels waiting to be aged, and a variety of other spirits.
How long do they age them for?
So whiskey is a required minimum of 3 years.
Okay.
What? All whiskey?
All whiskey has been aged for at least 3 years in Canada. Some American whiskeys are less.
Yeah.
But generally, that's kind of the standard for most of the whiskey you'll drink.
So does that mean you have whiskey that you can't sell yet because you guys have only been up for 2.5 years?
Yes, we have no whiskey for sale. We only have whiskey just sitting around in barrels right now.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What's the primary, I guess, the mixture for whiskey? Like what kind of grain or whatever do they use?
Whiskey is mostly just a grain spirit that is aged, and you can use anything you want. So like a bourbon is at least 50% corn-based. A single malt whiskey, malt being malted barley, means it's 100% made of malted barley. So and like a rye whiskey typically has more than 50% rye, even though it gets more complicated than that. But so like we have like some 100% rye whiskeys that we're making. We have 100% barley-based, malted barley-based whiskeys, and then we also have 100% wheat whiskey as well, which is fairly unconventional. But we make all of our clear spirits out of wheat, and so we thought it would be an interesting project to see what that goes like, and maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't be.
That's sweet.
We'll find out in a few years.
That's sweet, man. I always felt like I wanted to own like a bar or, like, you know, when you're growing up, you're like, oh, I want to own a bar. Or
Yeah. One of our clients was just saying that yesterday, that they really want to open up a bar in Montreal, but it's like now you're brewing your own alcohol.
Yeah. So you guys are a cocktail bar too, right? So you guys got, because we've been to your place.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a cool spot.
We went there for Slut Merch, and that was a pretty eventful night.
Probably the coolest event we've ever had.
Yeah.
Super interesting, very exciting, really, really good party, really cool things going on.
Yeah, it's a sweet venue. Like it's got really sweet decor, just like old school vintage vibe.
I try and articulate it's like my grandma's basement.
Yeah.
If that was a bar, it's very much like that.
That's cool.
And so we're not like officially a bar, because a bar, you can sell anything you want. We're a tasting room that is kind of the front face of our business. And so we're only allowed to sell spirits or drinks that we've made ourselves. So all of the drinks that we sell have some kind of Confluence product in them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So do people go there and, because I guess we went there for an event, but typically when people go there, they're just sampling alcohol, or are they actually sitting around?
It's a full cocktail bar-based experience, but they're only getting things that I've made. So like, because we have a range of products, like we did a collaboration rum the other day, and so we have some rum-based cocktails. We have vodka, gin, all kinds of different things. We have barrel-aged old fashions. So like a barrel-aged vodka is like similar to whiskey, but a little different. So we kind of like skip the note with some whiskey stuff. So yeah, you're basically very similar to what you get at a proof kind of esque feeling. There's a bunch of tables inside. We now have a patio as well. so that we can operate currently. And come down with your friends, sit at a table, have some drinks. We have a few little snacks, not a huge food list, but just nice casual. And then we're in that neighborhood, the Barley Belt, where there's like 14 breweries, cideries, and distilleries within 10 blocks of each other.
Yeah, what is that place?
So
there's like a lot of pub crawls and stuff go there. And,
exactly. Yeah. So we're kind of on this cruise between Inglewood and kind of 42nd and McLeod, where you have this massive density of breweries. And so we're kind of an option for gluten intolerant people that just don't care for beer because they've had enough like heavy hazy IPAs that they're tired of that. So we're like kind of a little bit of an off track on that. And so we have like on the weekends, Saturday, Sunday, we have these massive like bikers going through up and down our streets all the time. And so you kind of get two groups of people, like the people going for like a cocktail, like a elevated cocktail experience, and then the people that are on these like bike crews that are usually fairly intoxicated.
Yeah, I should check it out again.
Yeah, you guys are just allowed on the balcony now then.
The patio.
The front, the patio. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have seating for probably about 20 on our patio, and then we're going to get a patio extension in the next couple of weeks.
On the street?
Just in the parking, like it's kind of like extension of our parking lot. Our parking lot is massive, so we can, if we really wanted to like go for it, we could probably put 200 seats in there. But
Cold Garden style.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of those that are coming out.
But yeah,
so like Dandy's the same kind of. They've taken over their entire parking lot as being this massive like beer garden area.
Might as well.
Oh, it's great. I think like
you gotta adapt to the times, and it's also like I think.
Oh man, it's just like. I'd rather be sitting on a patio than inside. Like the street culture of it, I think is really like a positive change in Calgary. Particularly like on 17th Avenue, the way that the patio extensions have like really opened up the street and made people more lively. Like I love walking up and down 17th now.
I know
because it's so vibrant. It's like, oh, we're in a pandemic, but there's like millions of people everywhere. It's just like
the streets are busier than how it was on the inside, and like it's sunny out. The weather's decent, and like you might as well take off that road because there's less cars on the road anyways, and just extend the patios out there.
Exactly. No, I think it's going to be. I really like how it's going, and I'm confident that the AGLC and the city are planning these to be extended forever. Like the patio extensions, the AGLC has no intention of revoking that after COVID. So I see a lot of like potential in increasing Calgary's vibrance in nightlife and stuff like that. So
didn't they just approve drinking in public parks as well too? No,
I don't know. So the city, did the city do it?
Yeah.
Because I know that the city, like that was the last piece was getting the city of Calgary to agree to that.
I'm pretty sure I just read it in the news the other day because Toronto just approved it as well. Like
North Vancouver had it last year, and there was some really successful metrics about how it was worked on, and there wasn't over intoxication. It was like really handled well. The community really embraced it. The parks were more vibrant than they were before. So I see that being a really positive opportunity for Calgary this year.
European vibes, like
oh yeah, you're allowed to do that for sure everywhere in Europe. I remember I went to Paris. You just bring your own bottle of wine and sit right under the Eiffel Tower, right? And just drink and
your cheese, your
all
wine,
over that
bread. Everyone's just carrying.
Well, we need to do that.
That's my jam.
Me too.
I do that in Calgary, but don't tell anyone.
That's like when we went to Eau Claire with that wine box.
Oh man, we got hammered. That was. We brought a wine box after I don't even know some event, and we sat there and.
We just polished
it, and we were riding those Lime scooters.
Oh yeah, those come by in a couple more weeks, I think too. May 1st is when they're supposed to be released, so it's gonna be a good one.
But yeah, let's dive into the business, Ross.
Sure.
Let's first start off. Tell us something no one really knows about you.
About me, my former career is mildly interesting. Well, not really interesting. I was a mechanical engineer, but my job title was vibration specialist. And so I used to.
What were you a vibration specialist in?
Nothing interesting, unfortunately.
Downhole tools.
No, it was rotating equipment for kind of natural gas compressors and stuff like that. So really boring, but fun title.
In Calgary or?
Yeah, no, like northern Alberta, everywhere. So I worked out of Calgary, downtown, and then would fly to different sites across North America or Western Canada and make sure natural gas compressors don't explode. That was my exhilarating job, and quit that to drink more.
Don't miss oil and gas.
Yeah, no.
How long were you doing that for?
Did that for about 8 years.
8 years?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
If you don't mind us asking, how old are you?
I am 31.
31?
You're young.
I was going to say you look very young. I just don't know how young, you know?
Thank you.
That's awesome. So you did that for 8 years, and then what changed in that time?
Not too much. I just kind of the writing on the wall with oil and gas, and then the opportunity with craft alcohol production in Alberta. So in 2014, the laws changed to allow craft producers to exist. Before, it was completely illegal for any craft brewery to exist. So
in 2014 they allowed it.
They allowed it, and then
is that why like so many were coming up?
Yeah, and that's why we're like the highest density of craft breweries in Canada is in Calgary. But that kind of that switch was because of this law change, and so kind of 2014 hit. I was just like, there's got to be this massive amount of distilleries popping up. It's such a good idea. Why is no one doing it? And then 2016 rolls around. It's like, nobody's still doing it. There's like 3 distilleries in southern Alberta. What is going on? And I'm just like, okay. Like, and then by the time 2016, 2017 arrived, I kind of like had the wherewithal to be able to probably manage this project. And I said, and like nobody else was making a distillery, which made no sense to me. And so I thought it was a market opportunity. Took the leap. And then there's lots of fun things that goes to owning your own business.
Welcome to the real world.
Welcome to behind the business.
Yeah.
Dave was an engineer too, actually.
Yeah, I did that for like almost 5 years up north as well. Like I did a rotation like 15 and 6.
Oh, that's not a good one.
I fucking hated it. It's like it felt like it was like jail.
Well, now like with COVID, it basically is jail from my my understanding of people that are still up on sites like that. It's just like it's total lockdown, 2 weeks just sitting in your little cubicle room, and then you go to the site, and then you come back to your cubicle room. You eat in your cubicle. Like
it's like hard
brutal.
labor and good food. That's it.
Do that. Not do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're about 5 years ago. You'd say 25ish, 26. You kind of thought this, I'm going to create this distillery, or what happened? The
idea was kind of always there. I distilled as a hobby. I thought in university, I thought I was really smart. I was like, you know what? All these guys are making homebrew, like beer at home. I can one-up them. I'll make vodka at home. Turns out I am not smarter than anyone I know. I could not make vodka at home. I had some pretty horrible incidents.
But you were trying to make a vodka at home back?
Like when I was 18, 19.
Like with a copper still?
Yeah, so we took a pressure cooker, drilled a hole in the top, and then attached a copper pipe out of it, and then set up a still. And the problem was that I didn't really understand fermentation at that time. I probably should have done some home brewing to figure that out before I started distilling. But yeah, me and a buddy learned how to distill as a hobby for a long time, did that all the time, and then with the laws change, I saw an opportunity and thought it would be really cool. I'd have mildly the skills that would be needed, and then went for it. So yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
I've seen those like home distillation kits like that people like because from back in the day, like the prohibition style, right? Like
you can get all kinds of good stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
Is it hard though to make alcohol?
It's an art.
It's hard to make really good alcohol. It's really easy to make alcohol, but potable alcohol is kind of like like the better you get, it's kind of like exponentially harder. Like anyone can make alcohol. Yeah. If they want to make really high quality alcohol, it's very much a craft.
You can make some like toilet brew like they do in jail with like fermented fruit, juice boxes, and like bread, right? Because you need the yeast.
Anything with you can get it. I mean, as long as there's sugar and yeast is in the air, you can basically.
That's how they make
arguably not screw it up if you really have
it just tastes like shit because it's like rotting fruit.
Toilet water.
Man, you should have brought some here. So
I know.
Come
I know.
on, man. Come on.
Next time.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. No,
It's okay.
It's all good.
Horrible.
It would have been great because we had a crazy week right now,
Yeah.
but it's all good, man.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
We can screw over some of the people I'm supposed to deliver alcohol to. I got a case in my truck.
No, it's okay.
So you started making it like 5 years ago, and then like what got you into actually starting it? Because like there's one thing making it, but then
there was the desire there, and then I mean, kind of I took a little bit of a course on craft distilling, so like scaling up from my basement to something of a similar scale to me. So I got some education.
Were you doing like trial and error type while you're making it to see if it was good or not, or just?
Oh yeah, like we're working on recipes the whole time. Like pretty much the year before we opened, I kind of dedicated all my free time to kind of recipe development, building a business, basically building a business plan, getting investment, all that stuff. About a year-long process before we even got to renting a space and construction and everything. So pretty involved, kind of taking up all the free time that I had where I wasn't drinking. Kind of all my free time is drinking and then working at the business.
Don't get high on your own supply, though, right?
Very problematic with an alcohol business. So
that's smart though, because I mean, if you enjoy drinking anyways, and you're making something that helps with that, it's like, well, fuck it, why don't you just make a business out of it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like my hobby is spending time in Calgary nightlife, enjoying nice things and the bars in town, and I like we're recently doing a cocktail on tap at the Ship and Anchor, and I spend a heck of a lot of time at the Ship and Anchor. It's like, okay, this is why I did this all. It's like, okay, like I'm taking something I really enjoy, sitting on the ship patio, and now I get to participate in bringing joy to others at that same experience. So
it's like market research.
Oh man, I've done a lot of market research in Calgary. So it's like I feel like I had I consider it actual market research. Is like understanding market trends, what kind of alcohols are coming into vogue, out of vogue, like the vodka soda kind of craze that took over the world in the last year, like the White Claw thing. We were able to jump on that really quickly. This year we have somebody every week come to our distillery asking if they can make a White Claw. And I'm going, well, yeah, we can, but you're going to be charged, like it's going to be really expensive for you because you're late to the market and you're not really going to get a lot of traction potentially unless you have a really good idea, but they're just trying to make like a one-off White Claw isn't going to be a really arguably
miss the wave.
You miss the wave, or you're a year late and you don't have $1 million to invest in marketing for it. Like you're not going to get the same traction. But
so people go to your distillery to ask you to make alcohol too.
Yeah, so we do we can do contract distilling for people. So if you want if you're maybe a liquor store and you want a private label brand, we can make the alcohol for it and package it for your brand. It's called a private label. If you're a person who has a really good brand idea and you have a really exciting product, you can come to us. We can make it for you. You have to become a legal agent of that brand. And so there's a bunch of legal process you have to go through, but then we can be the manufacturer so that you don't have you can be focused on marketing and branding, and then we can do all the heavy lifting.
That's fine.
So we got behind the business and YYC Real Estate Group alcohol now.
Heck yeah, guys.
We just give it to our clients.
Hey, that's pretty. And we can also take if it's like a vodka. We have so many different versions of our vodka. We can pick the best one that you guys like and put a different label on it.
Dude, we got a new business right here. What are you talking about?
I feel like I probably shouldn't be giving away all these alcohol secrets on the air.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so you got that side of the business. You create your own alcohol, like yourself. That's Confluence Distillery's alcohol.
Yeah.
And then you also have the cocktail bar.
Exactly. So we have the cocktail bar, which is in the long term a marketing venue for expanding Confluence's know-how. Like at the end of the day, it allows people to experience Confluence better. And so Confluence, the product you'll see on the shelves in the liquor store is kind of our main business.
Oh, so you guys actually have bottles,
Yeah.
selling.
They're on all the major liquor stores.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. So anywhere in Calgary, as long as it's not kind of like bargain brand liquor store, you should be able to find our products in the gin section, the vodka section, and then in the RTDs, the we make gin and sodas and gin and tonics. And so we just released our gin and tonics this last kind of few weeks.
Because your largest supplier is Co-op right now?
Yeah, Co-op Co-op Liquors are our biggest supplier, which is great.
That's sick.
They're really a good supporter of local.
Is the brand just called Confluence, like gin, Confluence vodka?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Usually a white bottle with a...
Dude, now I'm very upset you didn't bring any.
That's like
Come on, man. You're on the podcast. Free advertising for you.
I even wore the shirt today, so I'm almost there.
I got to get another shot of gin in here.
Yeah.
How hard was it, though, to get your vision and your business plan and get investors in? And, like how hard was that process? Because I feel like it's a very hard process. I don't know if it was for you, but to enroll people into your vision.
Yeah.
I think it's it's a hard process, especially when you've never done it before. Like
Exactly.
you come out of a technical engineering job and you go, okay, now I have
Were
to...
you still working as an engineer too?
Yeah, full time up until 3 months before we started construction.
Oh, crazy.
But yeah, like you're kind of... I don't know, you're trying to juggle a lot of things, meet new people, express yourself in a completely different way, and then convince them that you're good at something and you have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
I really am impressed by the smart people that come to us and they go, hey, we have a recipe, we want to develop it, and then once that product is proven, we're going to buy a distillery. And you're like, oh, that's what I should have done. It's like I should have tried to make gin on a craft scale. If it worked then, spent the $500,000 or $1 million that it takes to open a distillery.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, to me, the process was fairly difficult. But, like, living in Calgary, like, a good idea with the right people behind it can find funding because there's so much wealth in Calgary coming out of oil and gas that if you really are dedicated and you're willing to learn, you can find a way no matter what. And there's so much money in Calgary.
So how did you...
I just bugged all my friends and family as much as I possibly could. We did mostly it was a lot of friends and family to start. Now we're as the business grows, we're looking more and more to kind of expand that, and we have a lot more access to people with funding. So the process is always getting easier as we expand our business.
Yeah.
But
especially when you build a name and you have a product.
Exactly. It's like, oh, you want to expand a business that you've succeeded in for 2 years? That's a lot easier than going, hey, I'm a random guy, give me a bunch of money. It's like a real tough ass.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Some rotten fruit.
I drank a lot, so that means I know how to make alcohol. It's like
I've done some
it's a hard
market
ask.
research on 17th Ave.
But building out a business, but took a full year basically to get really that whole process lined up, and then at some point you just got to take the leap and take my entire life savings and put it down onto buying a still, and then being like, I don't know where it's gonna go. I don't have a lease. I just have a giant piece of equipment in the States that somehow has to come to Calgary. And at one point, and just kind of like, okay, I'm quitting my job. I'm spending all the money I've ever made. Okay, bye. And then hoping other people will jump in is kind of.
That's an awesome story, though. That's how it should be, right? That's how that's how I feel entrepreneurs are, right? Like you're just learning as you go.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's very fun.
Yeah,
it's a little terrifying, but
how much is if you don't mind me asking, like the equipment and everything?
So we ours is probably one of the cheaper distilleries you could have started, and we more than $500,000, between $500,000 and $1 million worth of equipment.
Really?
And average in Alberta would be about 1.5 million.
Because all the stuff is stainless steel, right?
Or copper, and the copper manufacturing is very, very specific and expensive, and
copper's expensive in general.
It's those big.
It's like what you see in Kelowna.
Still.
Yeah, like those big tanks that have the pipes coming out and all that stuff.
Looks like some Breaking Bad shit.
It's chemical engineering. It's chemistry. It's all the same. Yeah.
It's like what they had at school for us. You see those giant tanks, you're like, holy shit. But it's for alcohol.
So are those filled with alcohol? Like
It's like a mixture.
and then you're
So we
Yeah,
like
like,
we
what's that?
have so the process kind of broken down. If we're making gin, gin is redistilled vodka, and it's distilled in the presence of juniper.
Oh yeah,
So
it
do
has
that
to have
for-
juniper.
It has to have juniper in it. We have like
what's juniper?
juniper's
a
a
plant.
yeah, it's a berry.
Okay. Wait. So I'm learning this, right? Gin is made out of vodka,
Yeah,
and gin. All you need to make gin is vodka and juniper,
It has to have
and
some
a
sort of
still.
juniper.
Yeah,
and
the equipment.
the equipment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we make like our Manchester is a 13 botanical build, including juniper, coriander, Saskatoon berry, lemon peel. There's just kind of a whole range of stuff you can put into it. You can put anything as long as you put juniper in and call it gin.
And then the flavors are obviously from like other.
From all those
fruits
botanicals,
or
right?
Everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so we redistill the vodka to make gin. Vodka is basically distilled beer. So you take
Interesting.
beer and then you boil it and you capture all the ethanol that gets boiled out of it because ethanol boils at a lower temperature than water. So the water stays in the pot. The ethanol comes out of the pot. We collect all the ethanol at a higher percentage. And so vodka is like
so-
distilled to
So
nice.
they separate.
Okay. I just want everyone to understand this too, because I think
Yeah.
no one really knows.
Yeah.
Also, so let me just verbatim what you just
Yeah.
said there. Vodka is made out of beer.
Basically.
Okay, and
It's an alcohol content.
you boil it, and then
And then when it's boiled, we're only capturing the ethanol and not the beer water mixture.
Yeah, because the water boiling temperature is at 100 degrees. So what is the
Ethanol
vapor
is about
point?
78 degrees Celsius.
So at 70 degrees Celsius, then the what's it called? The alcohol turns into a vapor, and that's what's getting collected.
and that's the vodka.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, the beer that you're boiling, like, what type of beer do you boil? Or
So-
are you making your own beer?
Yeah, we make our
Oh.
own beer.
Oh,
so yeah, so it's like
You're not buying, like, Coors Light?
just cracking a Bud. There's a bunch of Bud Light cans all over the floor. It's like no. So basically, like we always say that a brewery is a lazy distillery because they don't go the whole process. Because they only get to the beer phase, they don't actually distill it into the vodka phase, right? So brewers are just lazy.
They're not going that extra.
Yeah, they're not. They're only going halfway there. So we like in house, we make a wheat based beer. So it's basically like a sour Hefeweizen. We make that kind of base product. So it's wheat, yeast, water. We ferment that. That fermentation, we take the sugars out of the wheat. It turns into alcohol. It's about 8% alcohol, and then we have this 8% alcohol beer. We boil that, and we take the alcohol out of that 8% beer, and after a few steps of distillation, we get a 96% or a 95% alcohol
Vodka.
distillate. Yeah, vodka.
vodka.
Yeah, so it's 95%. Vodka has to be distilled to 95% to be called vodka.
So is that like the 95 proof or whatever?
So proof is always just double the alcohol percentage.
Yeah.
So no one actually sells vodka at 95%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
always
like
just
40%.
redilute
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
So most spirits are always they're diluted down to a certain level. So you add back clean water
So you don't kill
into
yourself.
it. Yeah, just because of its commonality. Like you could sell it at 95 for sure. But
Could you even do a shot of 95%? I feel like that would
probably
burn
fuck
your
you up.
Yeah,
it's just 2.5 shots.
Yeah,
yeah, but
fine.
wouldn't it like burn your throat?
Yeah.
probably.
You're like, I've done it.
You might-
I'm sure I've done it. I don't think I have, but it's not something like we're always we taste our vodka to know when the good alcohol and the bad alcohols come. So I'm tasting 95% throughout the day in very small quantities, very, very small quantities. But it's not like something that's overly horrible. And like at that purity, it actually is pretty good comparatively.
So you have the vodka now, and then you tweak it for flavor. Is that what you do, or you add stuff to flavor it, or to like?
If we're making just vodka, we would take that distillate, dilute it down to 40%, and then we would carbon filter it,
Dilute it, you're just putting water in it.
adding water back into it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we put reverse osmosis water, and you want the purest water you can get. You add that back to the vodka. You filter it, and then it's ready to bottle. So vodka is just clear, uncharacteristic alcohol, very boring, as plain as you can get. If you wanted to make a flavored vodka, you could just add flavor at whatever stage you want.
And then is that the vodka you guys sell? It's just like...
normal vodka.
Normal vodka. Okay.
But ours is made, because it's made with wheat and the way that we make it, it's much more characteristic than like a Smirnoff or a Grey Goose. It'd have the same smoothness as a Grey Goose, but it would have more texture. It would have kind of notes of vanilla. It has a little more character, a little bit more like mouthfeel, sweetness, whereas like a commercially made vodka is usually pretty neutral and like just completely just void of anything.
Are those made with potato or just
no? And so like a Grey Goose is made with wheat.
Could vodkas be made with tomato?
No,
Potato.
Oh, potatoes.
Tomatoes.
You could
potatoes.
You can make vodka out of anything with sugar.
Yeah.
So you can get there.
Content.
Yeah. You literally can make it out of anything. So potatoes historically is a cheap material. Yeah. It only has 8% sugars to weight. So it's actually a very bad product to make vodka out of. It's not very economical.
Oh, bad byproducts then, eh?
So it's just like it's just not very economical because there's low sugar content.
Yeah.
Whereas like corn is like nearly 50%, and so corn would be the most like viable. It's like very low cost, very high sugar. So you can make vodka very cheap out of corn, but whiskey or wheat would be kind of the most common grain used for making vodka. It makes kind of a superior product. Plus, it's very cheap and has a high sugar content. So that's kind of like why it's so common. Like making flour. Like everyone uses bread, right? There's so much wheat in the world. Why not make some vodka out of it?
High yield content.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, didn't know this podcast was to be.
We're gonna get real technical.
Science.
And then all of your listeners will fall asleep.
But it's interesting. I didn't know vodka was made like that. And then I guess what makes it more, I guess the way that you make the beer the way you make the beer is what makes the vodka very like different. The standard of vodka. Is that right? Like Grey Goose.
Like the quality of the distillation, the quality of the fermentation, the base grain. There's a lot of factors that really kind of change it, and so like that's where kind of craft alcohol is interesting, is that you can really play with those factors, whereas in a chemical like the vodka that's made out of Grey Goose or I don't know, Iceberg or wherever, like whatever vodka commercial, it's made in basically all the same factories. They're just giant fractioning columns. They're about the same as a chemical factory up north. It's the exact same process, where ours are like a lot more hands-on, a lot more technical, a lot more room for change or differences, and
it's a lot more like artisan, and I feel like there's probably more love put into it than like some mass-produced bullshit.
I don't know. Like I've toured through Alberta Distillers Limited, which is like this massive commercial facility in Calgary. The guys are great guys that do it. It's not necessarily there's not a whole lot of like ownership to the product, but they do a great job, but it is a very, very different product at the end of the day.
It just reminded me of that series that I watched on Netflix, The Sour Grapes. Have you watched that?
I haven't seen that, no.
You should watch that. Right. It's pretty cool. But it's about wine.
Yeah.
And it's about this like guy that he's like a savant on like taste.
Yeah.
And he was essentially recreating these like expensive ass wines by pouring like old wines together and then selling them at like auctions for like millions of dollars.
Apparently, one of my other partners, she knows the guy that in real life who debunked that guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And so a guy in like Kelowna.
Oh, really?
Was the one that was like, no, that's not what that wine is. That's fake. Pretty crazy.
It's a pretty crazy story.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Like he went to jail for like 10 years.
I'm sure he got a lot of people with it.
Yeah.
Where did you get the name Confluence? Like, what does that even mean?
Perfect.
That's a good one.
Confluence is the meeting of two rivers. So Calgary is located at the confluence of the Bow and the Elbow River. So to me,
Confluence is the meeting of two rivers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Calgary is as well.
Calgary means that?
No, it's like the.
But Calgary is there, right?
Yeah,
like
Calgary
the center
also
of Calgary
That's pretty cool.
is the confluence of the Bow and the Elbow River.
So it's very like local.
So that's the kind of the fields. Like Calgary is my home. I love Calgary in every single way, and I wanted to kind of voice that reflection of Calgary. We use local ingredients, and we want to kind of reflect Calgary back to people without just saying Calgary Distillery is like really lame. So Confluence is kind of an underappreciated way of kind of bringing Calgary together.
Well, that's an awesome name.
My grandfather was the mayor of Calgary, also named Ross Alger.
What? That should have been something,
Sorry. And so I thought it was kind of a nice kind of homage to him, and that our family has really cared about trying to inspire the community and progress of Calgary for generations.
Your grandfather or your...
Yeah, my grandfather.
Was the mayor of Calgary.
How long ago?
Yeah.
Like 1977 or 78 or something like that. A while. It's been a bit. Calgary's changed pretty significantly since.
That's cool.
Yeah. Did you use his name to help you with anything?
Yeah, I got a lot of favors at City Hall for that.
Yeah.
Got all the permits.
Come on, my grandfather.
Push these permits. Please.
Literally nobody has ever heard of him who's working in City Hall today.
So. Like, who?
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool. But back to the name, like it's cool that you picked like a geographical thing in Calgary to represent the brand, and also like it's just an interesting name that connects with it really well.
Like,
it's unfortunate that no one knows what it means. It's kind of lost on a lot of people.
You guys have to put that in your like why, like the mission statement of the company, because then like when people read it, they're like, oh fuck, that makes fucking a lot of sense.
Should be on our front page of our website.
Well, Confluence sounds like trendy and cool, like Confluence, right?
Yeah.
So I'm
really hoping for that.
Yeah, it does, right? Yeah. Like it's just like, what does that mean? Like you don't really know what it means, but I guess it's two rivers joining.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what it means, then it's kind of a blank slate for us to apply that meaning to you. So like, if you don't know what it means, you enjoy Confluence's products, and now Confluence means specifically that to you. It's kind of like you just picked a bunch of syllables out of a hat and picked it, and so we get to define Confluence as our meaning to anyone who doesn't know, and for people that do get it, it's kind of a nice little adjunct to the whole concept.
The flowing of alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of pouring alcohol.
Is that what it means, of the flowing of alcohol?
No.
Like of the
but it's a meaning of things. So like we use it as like bringing people together. So like our spirits bring people together is the flowing, the meeting of ideas and people and.
How did you come up with that? You just how did you think of that?
Of Confluence, to me, is just that was a great version of how Calgary is, and like to me, that's a subtle reflection of Calgary.
It's crazy because I've never heard of that word before. So, but now I have it attached, obviously, with your brand now, right?
That's the goal. So we're not just kind of repeating the same. We're not like the Calgary Flames vodka or something like. Yeah. There's so much Calgary brand things that I like.
Or like Alberta.
Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to stand out a little bit, but still have that kind of connection because we are Calgarian. We love it here. So.
Yeah.
Were you born and raised in Calgary?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. But one of the few.
Yeah. Well,
so
yeah. So
nice.
Yeah. So, tell me about like the transition to find the spot, to open up the spot. I mean, I bet you there was a huge learning curve. You're getting into leases now. You're getting into contracts. You're getting into not just, how was that?
A very quick learning experience. You just kind of got
help or anything, or like
lawyers.
Lawyers, realtors. Thankfully, one of our a good friend is a realtor, and he was able to help us nail down. He knew the vision. He's a realtor that deals with commercial craft breweries all the time, and so he's
what's his name?
Josh Manarikar was a really good help there. Josh, really good guy. Really understood the industry and kind of was able to help us really nail down the lease. And we ended up, if you know where we are, we're beside Cabin Brewery.
Yeah.
And so we both actually put an offer on the exact same space at the exact same time. And it's like,
now you guys are neighbors.
Yeah. So now we share a wall. It's thankfully the space beside where we both offered the same lease of where Cabin is right now. Mm-hmm. And then the space beside it opened up as well. And so I ended up taking the side space and they took the other space, and we didn't have to do a bidding war over the same thing, but it was really that that area, we saw an opportunity.
Was that area already kind of getting established, or did you guys?
Yeah, it was really Banded Peak and Annex kind of really championed that area. They the first kind of ones were in Inglewood that had some closeness, and Banded Peak was the farthest one away. And it was kind of like...
Is that another distillery?
Craft brewery, yeah.
Craft brewery. What's it called?
Banded Peak.
Okay.
And they kind of were in the middle of nowhere. It's like literally nowhere is where they were before. And now there's 14 of us that all moved in. Excuse me. And so they were there. Annex followed suit, opened in that same area, a little bit farther away. And so now kind of Banded Peak and Annex are a little bit of the bounds, and there's like 10 people in between the two of them. Born Colorado opened, they're across the street from us. They opened 6 months before we did. So we saw this little pathway between all these guys as like the perfect spot. Cabin had the same idea as us, exact same time. They opened. We ended up getting a lease a month after them, and we opened a week before them. So it's like, yes. I beat them in construction, but their place is like super decked out. So I know why it took an extra month, where ours is a little bit more simple. But like the whole process was fairly involved, the legality of it. We had really good lawyers to help us out with it, and business. But like, I think the biggest one was like learning economics. I don't know, for just like a engineer, you learn how things work and stuff, but you don't learn like what a P&L is, like a profit and loss statement. Like that's not something that I've learned in school. I never took business 101 or anything. So I just like all the accounting jargon and like what that standard issue process is, like all the financial elements of it were definitely kind of the biggest learning for me and what I had focused on.
Did you have like that in place before you got like your investors, or you were just learning as you? Oh,
I mean, we were learning the whole time. So like it becomes more and more like refined. Like I had a full financial like 5-year plan before I got any of my investors, and was able to forecast dividends and value and all this stuff. But
it probably did it go on track, or?
It's pretty on track.
Oh, really?
There was the issue is that kind of like my expectations of like our profit coming from this area of business and not from this area of business kind of just like swapped. It's like, but like all of my assumptions that were like conservative ended up being, and all my things that were like optimistic, they kind of just level out. And so like I was right on some things and wrong on other things, and kind of mostly got to the same path of where we're expecting. So
it's not the same when you like. It's like you're it's like a hypothesis almost, like in the beginning, but then like once you actually get into it, you're like, oh fuck, like this is real numbers now, and it's a lot different from like real life, or like from what you've planned out. But it's like you just kind of have to adapt as you go, and you can't get that experience if you don't fucking try. And like that's what I find, that like it's always the same conversation, is like taking that leap of faith and then actually just doing it and learning as you go and adapting as you go.
So totally.
I find a lot of like businesses don't really know what they're doing at the beginning, but they're just so excited for it that it doesn't matter, right?
And that drives like so much of the good stuff out of the bit. Like I don't know, I feel like I've been in this industry forever. It's been 2 years. But it's like...
Dude, you haven't even started yet.
That enthusiasm, the like not knowing what you're getting yourself into, that's where so many of the good ideas come from, and like just kind of this like outsider perspective of like, what is the industry missing? And now we're on the inside and being like, I don't know what the consumer thinks anymore because I've lost my perspective. And like... So it's kind of like always a balance of like that enthusiasm at the beginning of not knowing you're doing is like super valuable because you have this different perspective than everybody on the inside. And then once you're on the inside, you're like, oh, that's why we don't do it, because it's a bad idea. But I don't know, you should have gone with it. And like, I love that enthusiasm, just doing it wrong and trying it and hoping for the best.
Do you guys ever do any like test panels and stuff like that, or like?
Yeah, all the time. Everything we do, like a very involved product development process. So
that's a good way.
Yeah. Giving it to everyone's parents to see how the older generations appreciate it. It's like, it's not sweet enough. You need to add more sugar. I'm like, it's people are health conscious this century. Come on, Mom.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, like we always try and shop everything around. I'll bring you guys some samples on our next product.
Come on, Ross, you can bring it today.
I feel like we should pop by there this weekend.
Yeah, we should. It's gonna be a wicked weekend, man. Yeah, it'll be good.
So when you were starting your business plan, you thought you guys were going to be selling bottles to liquor stores, or was it more?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, everything.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, what we're doing now is nearly what I thought we would be doing with a different expectations. But yeah, our main business was to sell bottles to liquor stores. The tasting room is arguably a marketing activity to expand the value of Confluence so that people buy it in stores, and then they can go to the tasting room, do a tour of the distillery, really appreciate the brand, and then buy it again, and they'll tell their friend about how cool their experience at Confluence was and how they learned what vodka is and how they learned what gin is, and and that kind of, there's so much knowledge barrier between people drinking and people and the actual industry that that's such an important element to our business. So that's where the tasting room really shines, when our goal is to eventually be able to sell globally, right? And so if we do that, the tasting room is pennies towards that entire project.
Yeah. It's almost like the Kelowna concept,
Yeah, exactly.
When you go and try the wine at all the wineries and stuff like that, you get somone that is going through it, walking you through the different tastes and the whatever notes. I forgot what it's called.
I like tasting notes of.
Do you guys do that? You guys do tours?
Yeah, we do. Well, not during COVID, but we typically do tours, tasting flights, and we'll go through the whole process and teach you guys about what's going on, so that people can appreciate it. We'll do cocktail nights. We did some online cocktail nights. Teach you how to make cocktails, because cocktails is even such a barrier.
We should do for the YYC real estate team.
Yeah, we could.
We should do a cocktail night.
Because you guys had pre-made kits or something like that, right?
We at the start of COVID, we were participating in a lot of kits. So you put our bottle and then lime juice and sugar and whatever else you need in a cocktail, and we do all kinds of cocktail kits, and then we try and teach people how to make cocktails, because that's what that's what a good craft spirit should be used for, is except not a lot of people are drinking them straight. They are meant to be drunk straight, but most people are putting them in cocktails. So we want to inform the consumer how to make cocktails, and then we also make cocktails, pre-mixed cocktails, and sell those. So we have a Negroni, which is in
a can.
It's in a bottle.
Okay, yeah.
But
I've had some of that.
Yeah, it's really good. Arguably one of the best Negronis in a bottle ever. But it's gin, Campari, and sweet vermouth, and so we make a really nice blend. We make a gin specifically for that cocktail, so the gin kind of shines through the cocktail, because it is a very flavorful cocktail, but kind of simplifying the cocktail experience, making it more accessible to people, because cocktailing can be a little bit hoity-toity and a little bit nerve-wracking. There's so much barrier to entry, but it's just you're just drinking really nice things. It's you shouldn't be worried about we hope that the consumer can understand that we are trying to. It's not a hard thing. Cocktailing is fun. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. It's not supposed to be complicated. It's not supposed to be hard, frightening. So just make it simple, and so we try and give that opportunity to people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
What would you say biggest lessons you've learned in the last few years? You're still really fresh in the business, 2.5 years. I know it feels like a long time. We've been only in business 3-4 years, but what would you say the biggest lessons you've learned?
Lessons, a lot of it was kind of just understanding the economics, business 101 kind of stuff, understanding basic accounting. Lots of that stuff is really big. Bookkeeping, what is booking? Why does it matter? Why do I spend hours and hours trying to figure out how much GST I've paid? It's brutal. But yeah,
are you doing that, or do you have an accountant now?
We do have an accountant, but I still do a good amount. There's so much involved. I like to be kind of.
You like to know everything.
Engineer of myself is if I don't know exactly what every little element is being spent, I feel like I'm out of touch. And that it's just why even participate?
That's good though. You need to be in your own business. If you don't know where your money's going, then it's
that's definitely most of my day is paperwork. So it's what they say is if you like distilling, you should do it at home. Mm-hmm. If you like paperwork, you should open a distillery is kind of the way, because again, alcohol is such a regulated business that it's the amount of paperwork and taxes we pay, it's brutal, but it's a lot of fun. And so I think learning wise is for sure just learning how business works, how to grow a business, entrepreneurship. That's really awesome. I don't know.
What kind of marketing do you guys do?
all kinds.
Other than the tasting room.
Like
What is this tasting room? Just
What is
like it's just
like the bar.
Oh, it's the bar.
Yeah, yeah, cocktail bar.
I thought it was like a room where you go around to yeah.
There's glass windows.
Yeah.
Little booths.
You spit in a cup.
Yeah. You taste other people's spit.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing. No, like marketing pre-COVID, we did a lot of like in-store tastings. So we'd have a booth set up at a liquor store so that people were introducing them to the spirit, getting them to taste it, sample it. That's a big one. We used to help run a lot of events. We were very involved in, we try and be involved in the cocktail scene, in the like event scene around Calgary. Jamie Hilland, one of our other partners, he used to be heavily involved in kind of the electronic music scene in Calgary, running an events company. And so like we have a lot of connections on that side of things. So we really try to be involved in events and the nightlife and kind of get the bartenders to understand where we're coming from, appreciate our product, and kind of hopefully guerrilla market itself from there.
That's smart.
But I'm no marketing expert. So my third partner, Philan Ma, also, she mostly focuses on that. She's way better at smart, intelligent things like that.
How did you form your team? Like, how did you? It sounds like there's more than just one. Like, how? Did you,
I mean, I was the one that knew how to distill, and so I kind of run the production side of things. Fee is my partner and business partner, and so she. Just kind of was forced into it by me requiring a lot of help, and so she kind of joined full time just after we opened.
But so you guys were you guys planning to be business partners, or were it kind of just like?
It was kind of just like she was forced into it, I think, at the beginning, and then like it's like, Ross, you need a lot of help, and she's putting in like all of her nights and weekends into it, and then she became full-time with us kind of fairly immediately after we opened. And then Jamie Hillen came on board a few months, kind of basically when we started construction. And so he manages all of our sales. Sales.
Were you like inquiring to find someone, or how did you guys?
Yeah, so I knew Jamie through DJing and stuff like that. And through the bass bus. And
I know some guys there.
And Jamie was looking for work, and I was looking for a guy that knew how to do things that I didn't know how. And thankfully, he was totally the right guy for the job. And I had a meeting with him like the 1 week, and I was just like, I really need these. Like, there's a lot of things that I don't know how to do. I'm really looking for these skills. I was like settling, trying to like offer him a job, and he didn't really pick up on it, I don't think. And I put like an Indeed like a job request, whatever you call it.
On like a posting on
a job posting. And then Jamie calls me like 6 minutes after it's posted. He's like, Ross, like, that's not what you need. You need this. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like, I want the job. It's like, okay, obviously. Yeah, Jamie, come on.
Oh, so he saw the ad?
Yeah, he saw the ad and then called me. He's like, you want me and you don't want these things. And you're like, oh, okay, perfect. That's what I was hoping you'd get to when we had this chat a week before. So anyway, Jamie came on board right at the beginning. He's been, like, him and Fee have been instrumental because they have so many skills that I don't have. I'm good with the supply chain, the paperwork, the mechanical elements of it. I can, fix most things or break them, whatever you need to do. Whereas Fee, she's all product development, so she builds all the recipes. She knows how to cook. She knows how to taste things, which is a thing that apparently is really important in our business. Where coming at it, it's like, having a really refined palate is like such an important element. Where it's like, to me, it's like, I know how like chemical engineering works ish. Like, that's an important element of really technical side of it. But the other element is like cooking and flavors and how that kind of a full experience exists, and that's super critical. It's something that totally off my plate.
Yeah, it's like Q&A almost.
It's just like and so like her ability to be creative and smart and thoughtful about that whole experience, and me being just like technical nerd, boring paperwork guy. Both very important, but super complementary. And then Jamie being like on that third element of like marketing and sales and just like this knowledge of how people consume things and like being able to connect and talk to people and drive all these things, which is like so many things that I'm bad at, they're really, really good at. And so that was a really, really good that we like lined up
It's like
all
an
in the right place.
all-star team.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, how important is it for a team? Because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs think they have to do it on themselves, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I would be dead if I tried to do
Right?
any of this myself.
Right? Like,
if I had to go to
seriously.
do a sale, like if I had to talk to somebody and be like, "This spirit is the greatest thing in human history," I would be bankrupt. Hell, like I'm terrible at it, and so like.
Well, that's funny. He didn't come along right away. Came
I think
further-
he didn't really realize how desperate I was.
That's awesome. No.
That's a good story, man.
Yeah, you need a good team.
Oh, the team is so critical, and like really realizing your own faults and like where you're lacking. Like my knowledge of accounting is very minimal, and like it's definitely where I try and learn as much as I can, and always trying to increase that kind of entrepreneurial understanding of the team or of the economics of everything.
Yeah.
It's so critical to our growth and our scaling and all that stuff. And so that's kind of like part of my job that I don't know that I really need to know. So I spend a huge amount of time trying to learn it and get better at it and optimize it. And like we have now like part-time CFO who helps me learn these things and drives us into the right direction. And
Oh,
so
really?
like truly,
You're
yeah,
like a mentor?
not arguably yes, but it would be like a part-time CFO, like a company that consults for us on a part-time level. And so they have very, very experienced CFOs that provide us accounting and CFO services. But because we only need it a few days a week at most, or a few hours a week, it's not going to break. Like I don't need to hire a full-time CFO for something that only requires so much work.
That's smart.
And
didn't
so it's
know that
really
was a
cool.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
you
they're
might-
like fractional CFO services or financial services is kind of like the business area that it's called. And there's quite a few people that do it. It's just really hard to know that exists, right?
Yeah.
And so
Unless
that's
you're
good.
looking
Where did you hear about that? Because we might need that contact.
Yeah,
That'd be
I mean,
good, right?
yeah, so we heard it through one of our investors, also an entrepreneur, had that service provided to him. We use a company called Amplify Advisors, and they've been awesome, helpful for us, really kind of progressing from me using spreadsheets and a basic understanding of accounting to like just like super refined, like being able to communicate with a bank appropriately so that we could get additional funding or speaking to investors competently. And like if we needed to go to a angel investor, we wouldn't look like total idiots with our pants pulled down. We would know what we were talking about, and we'd have all the things that they would want in a financial package, and so we can look really really impressive when arguably we aren't necessarily as impressive.
It's like some Shark Tank shit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so one of our competing distilleries just got $1 million on whatever Dragon's Den.
Oh,
Yeah, so
shit.
successful.
In Calgary?
Yeah, Burwood Distilling in Calgary just got
That's
they got
crazy.
a really impressive offer for
That's
their hard work. Very very well deserved because they are
Yeah.
great. So super impressive, and they're like building a new distillery. It's going to be a monster project. So
Oh, wow.
really cool stuff.
It sounds like you didn't really know what you were doing. No offense, but a lot of entrepreneurs don't really know what they're doing. But I think what is helping you is you're looking for support and help, and you're okay with that. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
think that that mindset is just like, I'll figure it out myself, I'll do it on my own. But finding someone that's done it, or asking people that have more knowledge to support that, I think elevates your game and sets you apart from your competitors, right? Because I think a lot of people aren't doing that.
I appreciate that. I hope that. I mean, I don't think that I'm doing anything that is surprising or unique, but kind of relying on the community.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about moving into this kind of craft distilling brewing space versus oil and gas. Oil and gas to me, like oil and gas engineering more specifically, is like really cagey about like your IP and like who your customers are, and like not being able to share too much, and just like being like really protective of everything and like not sharing. And so we get into this space and everybody borrows things from everybody. Everyone's gonna go to the other place and have a chat and have a beer on a Friday afternoon, and like there's so much camaraderie, and like
It's a community.
It's a community, but it's like we're not competing against each other. We're competing against bigger brands, and we're trying to grow this craft thing. We're like when all
Elevated.
What is it? All ships rise on high tide. Like as our community and our industry grows, everybody succeeds. So every time you promote Bandit Peak down the street, you're promoting Born Colorado at the same time. You're promoting me, and you're promoting Uncommon, and like all these places, we're all trying to do the same thing. And by working together, we're going to succeed a lot better. And so like, I put a lot of work into like indirect things that will hopefully benefit me in the long term. I'm also the president of the Alberta Craft Distillers Association.
Nice.
And so like all my free time, which doesn't exist, goes back into like helping new distilleries open in Alberta. And so like, and lobbying for like rule changes and expanding like all the things that we can do to make Alberta craft distilling as good as Scotch whiskey that is an industry that with the same population and quality as Alberta and could be like export $6 billion a year or something like that. Like Alberta could be that next Scotch whiskey location.
Diversifying the market, especially out of oil and gas, because I feel
exactly. So we lost, a $30 billion industry of oil and gas, basically. Like Calgary or Alberta needs something to
fill that void.
And craft distilling is literally the only industry that I know of that's growing. Like we have tech and we have a few other things, but like craft distilling is a really big opportunity. Albertan grain is some of the highest quality grain in the world. And we have a history of making high quality rye whiskey and whiskey, and so we have the people, we have the natural resources, we have the opportunity, and awesome. I think it's like on the government to kind of just give us a little bit of a step up over the next few years to really get us some traction, and we could see some really cool things with our industry growth. So that's my goal.
I think it's growing for sure. What advice can you share for entrepreneurs or someone trying to get into your type of business? Anything that you can share to them or advice before getting into it or
advice. I think for me, there's for arguably somebody in Calgary, there's so many resources out there that if they I really try and promote entrepreneurship. I think it's so much more interesting. There's so much opportunity. So many people are just afraid to dive in or try it. Like they just kind of stop it at the front door and don't even like give it an opportunity, which is kind of depressing.
That's the whole point of this podcast.
It's not easy, but it's interesting. It's fun. It's worthwhile. I spend a lot more time doing what I do than I did when I was an engineer, but I'm so much happier because there's that opportunity to feel like I'm doing something of value, and to have ownership over it is really important and interesting. So like, I want to kind of promote that, just try, I think learning about the economic side of things, like taking business classes or reaching out to an accountant. That's kind of like the only other person I would have in my team would be like an accountant from day one is like the person I would really have. There's so much opportunity in Calgary. There's so many people there's so much wealth in Calgary. So many people that don't know what to do with their money. It's just about finding them. And the more you talk about your business, the more you engage with people. If you have a good idea, it's going to get traction. That idea should take off if it is a good idea. And so,
if it's a good idea,
people will buy into a good idea. And so, just making good choices about putting together fully developed plans and getting your stuff together, talking to people about it. That's the way to go. You'll find a way if you really try.
Have you read the book Start With Why?
No.
You should. That's exactly what that talks about.
Yeah, we do. We have this thing called the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS, through a book called Traction. And that was a big game changer for us, is to really define where our company is going, and just set goals for ourselves, a 10-year plan, a 5-year plan, our mission statement, really developing so that everybody on our team is going towards the same goal. And that was a really big value add for us.
Culture.
Yeah.
Common culture.
And just, what's the other one? There's some course program thing that's very helpful for a lot of people too,
entrepreneur. Business entrepreneur course.
Yeah, it's an entrepreneur. Once you have it's like for established businesses who are trying to grow, and I'm totally blanking on it. So don't worry about that one. Less important. I'm not that good anyway. No. But yeah, just like if you believe in it, like get that financial understanding and talk to people about it. I'm sure there's so much things that you can do if you want to.
Passion and purpose gets
There you go.
funding.
Exactly. Yeah, or make better ideas. Make really cool ideas.
All right. Well, I think that was a good way to end it, but I always like to give the opportunity, Ross, if there's any last words you want to say or anything you just want to say before we end the podcast.
I was just going to say that I really appreciate you guys inviting me over today. I'm sorry that Jamie couldn't join as well, but I really appreciate the time. The conversation's been awesome.
We'll get you guys back both on.
Yeah, we'll get you guys both on with the alcohol.
See, this is where Jamie, I don't usually get to leave the distillery. No one sees me. I don't interact with humans generally. He knows to bring alcohol. He's so smart.
So where can they find you guys? On social media, location, all that? Yeah,
Instagram, Confluence_Distilling, I believe is our handle. Our website, confluencedistilling.ca. Yep. And then our distillery is at 507 36th Avenue Southeast, just off McLeod, by that Burnsland Cemetery, just by all the dead people. And then in stores like Co-op liquor stores, Wine and Beyonds, Highlander, all the nice boutique places downtown, like Oak and Vine, Vine Arts, places like that, Bin 905, all those really, really nice, great liquor stores that helped us when we were small and starting out. Pretty much any fairly good liquor store that you can find will be there.
Awesome.
And you can always buy online too.
You guys are open till 10, 11 right now during COVID, or?
Yeah, so right now, very specifically during this patio thing, we're open till 10 p.m. patio only for cocktails at our bar.
Sweet.
On site. And then you can kind of look in the window and see the distillery inside. And you can buy off sales there every day, like Monday, Friday, 9 to 5.
Awesome.
Oh, you can buy the alcohol there too.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Well, awesome. Great podcast, Ross.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was awesome. Love the setup.
Yeah, thanks.
It's dope.